Good afternoon. We're still here in Scotland, Bonnie, Scotland. And Bonnie it is. It's a really beautiful country. And the only difficulty is the rain, the mist, the fog in the morning, the rain, the mist, the fog in the morning, the rain. Oh, I think you probably get the picture now. Scotland is very rainy and misty, but it's unbelievably beautiful, and occasionally when the sun comes out, it's a delight, a sheer delight. So we're going to do another koan today. And the koan we're going to do is, he who chooses cannot enter the way. I'll come back to that in a moment because I want to introduce you to two books. This is one by Wei, W-E-I-W-U-W-E-I, and he in fact is a Chan Buddhist, and he lived, he's dead now, in Monaco. He wrote a number of these books. You can go to your library and get others of his books, but this is a good one. So it's called The Negative Away. Negative Away, Ask the Awakened by Wei. And Wei means Wei is the seeker and Wu the way, so it's the seeker on the way, which in fact goes really rather nicely with what I've been telling you. There's some really interesting things. It's not too difficult. Remember that if you're reading this book, you just may read a paragraph or two paragraphs, and that will give you the flavour of what you want. Here's one. The Negative Way, I'm Not. And the little thing on that. Okay, so that's one book. The other one you might like is one by Sailor Bob Adamson. Sailor Bob Adamson. It's called Presence and Awareness. And so awareness is something which which is absolutely basic. Other people call it consciousness. I think awareness is better. Consciousness is a very elusive word when you try to understand it. Awareness is much better. We'll talk about awareness one day, or I think we have in fact talked about the fact that the way that awareness is given to you by the moment. Anyway, be that as it may, presence, awareness, just this and nothing else, by Sailor Bob. Everybody seems to call him Sailor Bob. In fact, his name is Sailor Bob Adamson. So there we are then. So, what is the koan that I have for you today? Well, as I said, he who chooses cannot enter the way. So we'll have to unpack that. It sounds very simple. Perhaps he doesn't want to go on the way, but if he's choosing things and wants to go on the way, then it looks as if he's got problems. So who's he? It's not a he or she, obviously, that's not what we're about. It's a person. A person who chooses cannot enter the way. It's important that you understand it is personhood in the state that you and I are in, that we can't enter the way if we start choosing. So why not? Because the I in us is the default mode network, but also default mode network in the brain, which underpins all our egoic thoughts and what the brain, when it's not doing anything, refers back to. And so that is essentially the basic structure which underlines our feeling of I. So, can a feeling of I choose? Interesting. Can a default mode network choose? And that again is a really interesting question. Or could it be that we're looking at this the wrong way? Supposing a lion jumps out of the bush, will you think, oh, I'm going to choose what I'm going to do now? Of course you don't. What you do is act instinctively, either run away or jump up a tree. There was a talk that I was listening to last weekend about a lady who can talk to animals. She tells the story of a lion who jumped at a man who was walking through the bush and disturbed it, and pinned him to the ground and was about to tear him apart when the man said in his mind to the lion, "I'm terribly sorry to have disturbed you," and he was too. Please don't eat me because I'm not your food, and it was all a mistake on my part. The lion opened his mouth and let him go. So, how much truth is there in that? I don't know. It's a nice story because it's what we're dealing with now. The way you act is, or can act, is intuitively and not by choosing, should I do this? Should I do that? Probably not. Oh, I know what I'll do. I think that. No, it's got to be this. Do you see? The way that we make choices, it's quite difficult. So he who chooses, so choices are the no choices, as our reductionist science says, it's all brain function. Well, I think our reductionist science is a very, very, very good science, but it's limited. And it's limited when we come to answer such questions as free will and so on. We'll talk more about that in later posts. So, he who chooses, so anybody who thinks that they let this default mode part of them make a choice, that's he who chooses, can't enter the way. Enter, can't progress along his spiritual path, because the way is in fact the fundamental Tao of the Zen pathway, Chen Zen group. And what you can't do is you can't move on the track to enlightenment. There. If you're choosing, you can't enter or you can't go along the path to enlightenment. So let's think again what it means. It means that you, that little bunch of thoughts centering around the default network that is your feelings of you, cannot, who chooses, and then the question is whether the brain chooses anything. If it does, then it's going to be rather unhappy because it can't enter the way. So that's our koan for today. He who chooses cannot enter the way. And it's a very well-known Zen Koan. And see if you can work it out as to what it actually is saying. And if you like, put something on the posts. I'll give you a slight heads up about this, because if you look back over one of the posts, there was a very nice comment from somebody who almost explained this. So yeah, I look forward to your replies. And let's hope that the sun shines and the rain stops pouring down. But then it wouldn't be Scotland, would it? And I'm not going to choose whether we have sun or whether we don't, because I know if I do that, I then can't enter the way. Okay, I'll be back next week with what I see as the solution to this koan. You can see if you agree with me or not. Okay, so thanks very much. And cheerio.